this seed of love that you planted in our lives. Give us courage to see, strength to overcome those imperfections that keep us distant from you. Help us, God, to have discernment, wisdom, to choose forgiveness over resentment, peace over war, love over hate. God is inviting us today to new beginnings, to new opportunities to grow. Welcome us to new experience. Thank you, God, for immense compassion, for your goodness and your blessing over us. So let it be.
All right, that was so beautiful. So again, in our event today, we're going to include one musical performance and 2 lectures in the morning. And then in the afternoon, we'll enjoy also 3 lectures, and we're going to have a round table. So make sure that you share your questions with us, either in writing or in through our chat in our social media. Bookstore if there are any books that you're interested in. And last but not least, we'd like to thank Spiritus Radio also for streaming this event live and allowing some of the friends who could not be here with us today to enjoy these great lectures. So without further ado, we're going to have our first presentation today. It's a beautiful musical piece, and it's going to be brought us by us to Ed Christie. And Drew, can you tell me a little bit about Ed?
Absolutely. I guess we don't need this anymore, so I'm just going to put this out of my. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so they can still hear me. Okay, great. Sorry about that. There we go. Something else about technology. So, for our friends listening in the Spiritus Radio, welcome. Thank you for being online with us today. Okay, now I heard a no, so we'll just go with what he says. So that's okay. We'll just keep talking with the microphone and pretend it's working. That's okay too. That's okay. Just without further ado, I'm sorry. I just wanted to introduce you to Edward Christie. And Edward has been involved with Spiritism for more than 20 years. He's an active member of the Inner Enlightenment Spiritist Society in New York. Edward is classically trained pianist and has taught music in NYC, as well as computer science courses at NYC. Sorry, NYU. I'm cutting my voice. In New York University. He enjoys learning. And I'm sorry.
The technology is great when it works.
Thank you. Edward enjoys learning and uses his love of teaching to share what he learned with others. Edward, welcome to our 16th Spiritist Conference of Georgia, and thank you for bringing such inspiring music to all of us. Please, let's give Edward a welcome. Yes.
You could just speak here.
Here and then, yes.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
The work you're about to hear is a work of mediumship. It's a piece that Mozart composed, I would imagine not long after he discarnated, because it's the person who was the medium who received this probably about 50 or so years after Mozart left this earth. The medium that received the message, that received the work, is an opera composer. And this is significant because Mozart considered himself an opera composer. He did not really consider himself a composer of instrumental music. He said, I'm an opera composer. I write chamber music for my friends and piano concertos for money. So the work that we're going to hear is based in the opera tradition. It's actually in the format of something called the da capo aria, which is very simply a melody that's performed followed by a contrasting melody, and the first melody comes back again. Simple, what's called ABA form. The other thing about this piece is that it was called a sonata, and the sonata at Mozart's time was a multi-movement work. It means there's different music, fast, slow, loud, soft. But this is just one movement, and it's significant that the movement that we're going to hear is what's called lyric music. There's a lot of music attempts to reproduce vocal music. And vocal music is opera music, or opera music is vocal music. So when you're hearing this, think about, there's no words that were given along with this music, but think about music that attempts to imitate the sound of the human voice and help you to appreciate music. Thank you.
John.
Okay.
Let's talk a little bit about Dan. So Dan Sisi is a award-winning author and internationally renowned speaker who has delivered hundreds of talks and conferences on spirituality on over 60 cities in 4 continents. Dan is an executive coach and strategy consultant on various nonprofit organizations. Dan holds a doctorate degree in education and a master's degree in public administration with a graduate certification in public policy from the University of Southern California. Dan lives in San Diego with his wife Nicole and his 3 sons. Dan, welcome to our conference and thank you for bringing such a great topic to us.
Thank you. Ben, before you begin, just let you know, you're going to be 30 minutes different from that schedule, but I will let you know.
Sorry, what does that mean?
Your schedule, that means the schedule that you had there,
Uh-huh.
you was 1 hour, but I will let you
It
know.
was 40 minutes.
But you have
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I'll let you know, don't worry about
Okay, I got a timer over here.
it. Yeah,
I just want to make sure I know how long I'm talking to.
So,
All right, great. And do I have a clicker?
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Is there a clicker working?
It's working. Technology works all the time. When it works, works. Oh. Get started, sir. Don't worry. Don't mind technology.
Good morning, everyone. Morning, last time we checked. And we're going to make it good. Right? But, and I just want to say how exciting it is to be here with you today. I also understand that we're celebrating the 26th anniversary, I believe, of this group. So it's a major, major milestone. And I'm so excited to be able to see some old friends and make new ones along the way. And it's very great to be here with you today. And our topic is kind of like a jolt to the morning. Like, we're going to start with something a little bit more like, our title is Finding Peace in an Ever-Changing World. That's the topic for the whole event. And as we try to make sense of different things here, we just want to make sure that we know that, it's kind of hard to talking about letting go of things in 40 minutes. If it were that easy, we would all of it. Right? And this whole idea of surrendering control to find inner peace is something that we all struggle with. Because the world has been really a very difficult place for us to live in. Modern life is very complex and overwhelming. And sometimes we are going to, can we go back a little bit? Let's let go, surrender control, and let's do this, right? So life has been really hard. Let's be honest. Let's just kind of call it what it is. We have just come out of a pandemic. You come in, you find your seat. Don't worry about it.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, no, good morning. Come on in. Put your own happiness wagon, right? We're going through a pandemic. We know that life was really hard. It continues to be in many different ways. And we are worried about lives, our physical lives, right? On top of that, we have also been witnessing not only one war, but major conflicts in parts of Africa. And more recently, we have also been glued to the TV to see what's going on at Gaza and all the different things that are going on there. So understandably, we are feeling really worried about what is going to happen to the world. What is going to happen to us in the next years, maybe days even, right? We may have family members, we may have people we know, and we know that kind of brings with it an emotional wave. We also know these are difficult times in terms of uncertainty. We know that we have been worried about our economy. Is it a downturn? Is the inflation going up? Mortgage rates? All these things take a toll on us and gets us thinking about what is it that's happening and are we going to be okay? And we also know that our society is struggling. There's a lot of inequities out there. And there might even be more inequities because with artificial intelligence coming up, this is going to change the way we do work, and some people are going to have their livelihoods affected by that. And we know that we're not treating all our citizens and all our humans the same. We know that if you're a woman, you still don't get paid the same as men. We know that we don't take care of people of color, and we treat them separately sometimes and differently. And we know we have things to work on. And we also know that we're not very kind towards each other. If you think different, if you have different political views, if you hold different perspectives than my own, I oftentimes just don't want to talk with you. I'm done. I'm canceling you. I'm not giving you a voice. I'm not even listening to you. So it's really hard. It's really hard. It's so much. At times it just makes me go like this. Right? This is almost an actual picture of me with no filter. Sometimes I just feel like, oh my goodness, what's happening? I feel like I am this picture of, The Scream by Edward Munch. It looks like me other than being very thin. But I think that we have this feeling, right? And the world is so chaotic and so complex right now that we have this desire to kind of just bring it to order. And that's when we think to ourselves, but what if? What if I only make more money, then maybe life will be better and I will be a little bit happier? What if I get that new job and things are going to be different? Then my life is going to be easier and I won't have to worry about things that much. What if I get the promotion? Maybe I will get the recognition that I want to and I'll feel better and things will really going to change. What if I just get a different partner? Maybe that's what's holding me back. Maybe I just need to be happy and this is not working out and clearly it's not me, so it's got to be somebody else, right? Maybe if I change that or get more partners, right, life will be better. There's all kinds of different things going on. Or maybe if I just get my family to do things differently, to see things how like they should be and do things this way, then I get to breathe for a little bit. Or maybe, you know what, maybe I should just move and go somewhere else. Because then things are going to be different and I'm finally going to be okay. And everything will be. And so we ask ourselves these things and we tell ourselves these stories and we go through life in many different ways thinking about this. And the truth is we all do it. Because we're seeking this control. We're seeking this peace that we think is going to be outward. And in doing that, we really find ourselves trapped in this triangle of success. It's a paradigm that our society has imposed on us. Whereas we think that if we're beautiful, if we are wealthy, and if we're famous, we're okay. We've made it. Right? And that's really interesting because if we are beautiful, if we're wealthy, if we're famous, we get that attention and then we're happy. But the truth is, if we focus only on beauty, we know that eventually that's going to fade. It's a matter of time. And that's going to be a problem because we're just going to be seeking after that one extra Botox, that one extra plastic surgery, that extra 20 pounds we're going to shed off, and then people are going to like me, right? And I'm not saying any of these things are wrong. I'm just saying we can get into that sense of mind that we got to chase after that. Or maybe if I'm just get recognition, become really famous, and that's going to be wonderful. I'm going to have all this love coming towards me. But we often forget that with that comes a price of you having to give up things you like. Some famous people can't walk on the streets. They can't go to restaurants. They can't do the things that they do. And so we have the distorted view of what is it that this recognition is going to bring us. And what if I just get wealthy, can do whatever I want to? But maybe you can't because you're so worried about your money and what you're going to make and what you're going to buy that you end up having no time at all to enjoy it. And when you realize time has gone by, what do you have to show? And the funny thing is, in many different ways, that these three things really end up preventing us from having meaningful relationships because they're harder. It's harder to have meaningful relationships when you're beautiful because people just are after your beauty. It's harder to get sincere friendships when you're famous because people just want that spotlight. And it's hard to get really good advice or companionship when you're wealthy because people just want some benefits that come with your pocket. So we end up chasing the things that are actually not making us happy. So controlling all these things, trying to control the world and get all these things has not necessarily brought us happiness. Because we still find that rich people, beautiful people, and famous people, or all the three, are not necessarily happy. As a matter of fact, we know that because we see that in the news. People who are beautiful, rich, and famous, and who have committed suicide, or who are unhappy, or have had multiple relationships and been married for the 8th and 9th time, because they're craving something that these things of the world cannot give them. And so we realize that what we're really holding on to is our own fear and insecurity, because we are worried that we're not doing things right, or we're not enough, that something's going to happen to us. We get trapped on all these things. And then our tendency is just to worry even more. Dan, you're being so uplifting right now. You're dragging me down, man. So what's happening? Well, but this is sort of what's happening out there, consciously and unconsciously sometimes. We are submitting ourselves to this idea, for this idea of success, of things that are out in the world. But the problem is, we're seeking happiness from a world that is not good. It's a trap that we have set ourselves into. If we look outside with the pandemic, with the war, with inequities, with all those things that we're talking about, with intolerance, injustice, all those things, clearly the world could be doing better. So why is it that we think that following the thoughts and the patterns and the paradigms that the world is giving us will make us happy? It seems counterintuitive to seek for fulfillment in a world that is not healthy or well. So what do we do? We ought to face this trap, and we got to think differently. But fortunately, we know that there is a different way of looking at it. As a matter of fact, we have been told that for hundreds and thousands of years. About 2,600 years ago, a Greek philosopher, psychologist by the name of Siddhartha Gautama, for instance, the Buddha, came in and told us something fascinating. He said that life is tribulation, strife, is hardship, and that suffering happens. But the cause of suffering, and this is what I thought he was really genius at, is our attachment to impermanent things. When we put all of our attention in things that are not going to last, we are going to be dissatisfied. If my happiness is my car, and that car in 5 years from now, or if somebody crashes into me, that car is going to go away and I'm going to be heartbroken. And if my happiness is exclusively bound into my home, and there's an earthquake, a fire, or whatever happens, and that house goes away. And if my happiness is somebody else who eventually pass away, I will be distraught. So maybe, according to Buddha, we should not put all our eggs in that basket. Maybe we shouldn't be listening to this world that tells us to put our happiness, attach our happiness wagon to impermanent things and things that won't last. 600 years later, we have a different thinker coming. We call Jesus. And he tells us not what not to do, but what to do. And he tells us that we should put our treasures in heaven, because that's where thieves cannot steal it or moths cannot corrupt it. That is to say, if we pay attention to the things that will last, then we will not be surprised. We will not be dissatisfied. And what are those things, those relationships and so forth? And how do we then look at things differently and begin to bring that into our lives? Well, fortunately, for the past 166 years thereabouts, we have been studying something called Spiritism, which really is a way of looking at life. It is a pair of glasses that lets us see things differently. I can tell you, I'm a recent glass wearer for the past 2 months and now wearing glasses. And I see things differently. I did not know I needed glasses that badly and do it. But now, my God, yeah, could have done it earlier, right? But my point is, I see differently because I now have this tool with me that lets me adjust the way I see the world. And in many different ways, Spiritism is that to us. Because in exploring those phenomena that were taking place back in the 1850s, we realized that the consciousness, the soul, so to speak, of the living outlive our physical. And we have been talking with them for 160 years, listening and trying to understand things, triangulating information to learn really what's out there. And we find out that there is a lot more than we previously thought, that there's more than meets the eyes. There's more than the physical world. And once we do that, we begin to see that that triangle of fame, beauty, and wealth may not be really the solution. There may be something else. Maybe it's the relationships. Maybe it's the growth that we do. So we ask ourselves, what is it that Spiritism can do to help us let go of this angst, this anxiety that we have about controlling things? How can we retrain our minds to see things differently? That is when we know that through these teachings, we find out that we, all of us, are enough. And how do we know that? You are an immortal spirit created by God, which is perfection. God is perfection. And there's a God. And you were created by that perfection. This perfection makes mistakes. No, so you cannot possibly be a mistake. You are more than enough to face all the challenges of the world. You do not need to worry about whether you are doing it right to such an extent that you are holding yourself back. You were created by perfection. We forget that in the daily world that tells us that we should be thinner, taller, blonder, kinder, richer, more famous. None of that really matters because none of that you can take with you when you leave this earth. So in these moments where you struggle thinking whether you are doing the right thing, spoiler alert, everybody worries that they're doing the right thing. Everybody is posting on social media their best lives. In social media, everybody's happy, they're beautiful, thin, and they fly business class. I don't see a lot of people saying, oh my God, here's my pimple, and I'm sitting on the middle seat close to the bathroom, right? I don't see that. Because that's all we want to achieve those things. And so we tell ourselves those stories because we hope that that's going to happen. And that people are going to like us. But we don't need to be liked by anybody else. We already are. We're already enough. We're liked by God. And by a plethora of good spirits around us. So you are created by God. Release. You're going to be okay. That's an important thing for you to remember. And also, if you were created by God, the creator of all things, perfection, you belong. Anywhere. You don't have to worry about fitting in. Because whatever it is that you are was made by God. And if you're the child of God, you're the inheritor, you're the heir. It's yours. Why are we trying to own or get something we already have? Does that make sense to you? And so, take that breath and let go of the stress and that anxiety for a second just to realize that you're okay. And that you belong whatever it is that you are, even though we think we're not. Or other people sometimes may want to try to make us feel that way because they need to feel better than us because they're also hurting. We're all prey. But more importantly, remember that you are an evolving spirit, and that we have learned very well in Spiritism. We have learned about reincarnation as a proof of the love of that perfection that we call God, that gives us as many opportunities as we need to grow and develop. That's what we're here for right now. We're not here to be beautiful, rich, or fancy. These things go away. The Buddha told us, we're here to learn. What is it that you're here to learn? That's going to depend on you. We're all different. We're all on different paths and different journeys, but we are all growing. And that means that we're all making mistakes and we're all trying really hard to be happy. And so don't read other people's actions as definite. Just understand that when you put those glasses on, that they are immortal spirits just like you, trying to do things right, and they're going to mess up. And they're going to say things they're going to regret later, and those things may be directed at you, or may not. Give people some space, some leeway, some tolerance. Let's break down this idea that if you don't agree with me, I'm not even going to talk with you. If we are really evolving spirits, then we really need to give each other some love and some room to fail and some acceptance, just like we'd like for ourselves. But more importantly, remember too that you are not alone. The number of your likes on social media does not determine how good you are. The number of friends does not mean how great of a person you can be. The quality of gifts you receive have nothing to do with who you're going to become. But you are not alone because you're loved by the creation. You are loved by God. You are loved by your mentors and guides, because now we know we have them. And you're also loved by the amount of friends that you have made in this life and in previous lives, because now we know there's reincarnation. And so we know that we have had friends, mothers and fathers before. We have had loved ones, colleagues, co-workers. They have not stopped loving us when they passed away, much the same way that we have not stopped loving them when they died. Why is it that we forget that? We forget. And we think that we are alone, but you're never alone. Love is all around you, all the time. And the good news is, there's only going to be more love in your life because you are making new friends. You're making new relationships right now. In this room, in this moment. There are people that you may not know, you may get to know as you come to the group more often, or you talk to people, or you join a study group, and you create bonds and friendships that you not have otherwise have. I know I have been the recipient and the beneficiary of that. There's people here, most of you, that I would have never met in my life were it not for these opportunities of growth that I have found. So I'm so happy about all of that. So what does it all mean, really? It means that when we are okay about who we are and where we come from, and that we are loved, and that we are growing, and that everybody else is growing, and nobody's got it figured out, we can let go of it. We don't have to control the world because there is something way better than all of us, God, perfection, dealing with all of this, making sure that everything is going to happen. All you need to worry about is what is it that you are learning, and what is it that you're doing to become. The rest, God will see it through. So we can breathe. And let go and surrender that control for a little bit. Let's try to control our actions on a day-to-day basis. Let's just try to control the things we can, when we can, the best possible way, how we know to. And when we know better, we'll do better. But that's all that we need to do. So if we sit in that, if we sit in this basic foundation of knowledge that Spiritism has been bringing to us and for us for less than 200 years, a very short period of time in the grand scheme of things, if we can sit and make space in our heart for that knowledge that we are immortal spirits, then it becomes a little bit easier to say that I'm okay right now and everything is going to be okay. And then we realize that there's some work that we need to do. We need to let go of these things that we are carrying. So the question is, what will you let go? What do you want to let go? It's not a rhetorical question. It's an actual real question. As a matter of fact, break out your cell phones right now. It's early in the morning. You've got to make sure you wake up. Go ahead. And, oh, okay. We're having a little bit of trouble here. Are we connected to the internet over there?
Technology always works.
All right, we're going to do a poll. That's what we're going to do. You're going to break out your phone, and you're going to send some answers about what is it that you're going to let go, and they're going to be anonymous, and nobody's going to see it. That's how it was going to work, but maybe that's not going to work that way today.
Just let it go,
And we're
man.
going to let go of that.
Let it go.
And we're going to do another poll after that too. We're also going to let go of that. But just think about this. Take a second to reflect. Quiet work. Just by yourself. You don't have to write it down. You don't have to tell your neighbor next to you. Maybe you like that person, maybe you don't. It's okay. You don't have to talk to them right now. Just take a second. Just take a second to think, what is it about my life that I can change, that I want to let go of today? What is it that knowing that you are an immortal spirit, that you are going to be okay, that you're loved by God, you are going to let go? So you're ready now? Do me a favor. If you do know, and I'm not going to ask you to share, don't worry. Okay? If you do know, if you have something in mind, just put your hand right here in the chest. Right? Nobody else is looking at anybody else. Don't worry about it. I'm the only guy seeing it. Right? But I can tell you that the vast majority of us know things that we want to let go of. So what is it that we are going to do on a daily basis to remind ourselves that we are more than just the others? Because what has worked out well and what has served us until this moment may not be the thing we will need moving forward. We may have to transform ourselves because we're learning and we're growing. And we have tons of examples of that through history and through life. But to make space for the new person that you want to be, to make space for the new things that you want to do, you have to let go of some old things. You just have to. You cannot hold everything at once, neither should you. So what is it that is truly important for you? What will you put in your backpack? What will you take with you moving forward? What is it that you care about that will serve you well and lead you in the path to self-fulfillment? Is it relationships? Is it discovery? Is it learning something new? Is it getting rid of your closet? Not your children. Your children stay. Somebody said, I get rid of my children once. It's a very tough day for that person. But you know what I'm saying? What is it preventing us, and what is it holding us back from doing that? What is it that's going to prevent us from acting like it? Because we don't. We know that we're immortal spirits. We know all these things. But sometimes when we step out there, when we go back into the world, that triangle, glitter, beauty, fame, and wealth gets us back. I mean, it's so difficult that we even have expressions like FOMO, fear of missing out. We're so worried that if we don't do these things, we're going to miss on some important thing and we're never going to be happy. But that can't possibly be, because what you need, you already have. What you need is here and here. What shirt you wear, what car you drive, where you live, what's in your bank account, where you're traveling to for a vacation. Those are nice things, but they're superfluous. Why is it that we shift the perspective thinking that the things that will not last will define us? Makes no sense. But for that, we need to put our spiritual glasses on. I sometimes joke that most of the time, I spend more time brushing my teeth every day than thinking about myself. How much time in our days are we taking for some mindfulness, for some prayer, for some reflection about what is it that you truly want? We're just moving from thing to thing, chasing that triangle, but now it's time to change. And when we do, life becomes a little bit easier and a little bit kinder on us because we know that what truly matters, we can take this. And I wonder sometimes if that's what Jesus, this incredible soul, meant when he shared with us in the Gospel of Matthew. He says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." How can he possibly do that? Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. How can he possibly do that? How can he give us rest? We who are weary and burdened, he knew us. And he knows that we are tired, overloaded with things. And he's promising us rest. How? Because he's telling us to do that which he did. Focus on spirit. And once we do, we will no longer feel weary and burdened by the challenges and requirements of the physical world that tell us that we have to have all possible streaming accounts ever, Netflix, whatever it is. You got to watch all those shows. We got to make all that money, buy all these different cards, changing every 2 years, have the latest cell phone, get the new laptop, be beautiful, go to the gym. The gym part's good. Go to the gym. Do that, right? But you know what I'm saying? But once we know what really matters to you, and I bet it's some relationship, it's some time, some experience with the people you care. It's about learning new things, not about things you hold, you carry with you. Once you do that, you can breathe a little bit easier. You can get some rest. And he says, "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart." Trust me, he says, I have done these things. I am gentle and humble in heart. That is to say, I have focused on what matters. And I can tell you firsthand that you will find rest for your souls because I am at rest. So much so that I have come back into this world to show you the way. His message as an incredibly enlightened spirit, when he was with us, was not one of suffering, but we still hang on to that somehow in our full tanks. He has come to show us that there is no death. He resurrected. He came back to show us that we need not be afraid of the things of the world. Even when the world tells us we are wrong. Even when the world appears to abandon us and betray us, as it did to him. And he's okay. For his yoke is easy and my burden is light. And this is a yoke for all of you metropolitan people. Right? Or if you're a little bit younger too, right? This is the thing that goes into the animals in the field to help plow the field. It is farm bling, so to speak, right? You put this necklace, beautiful necklace, on the animals, and by holding that, they're able to pull things. He's not saying, there will be no yoke, there will be no work. You can just go and enjoy yourselves. He says nothing like that. He says, if you do these things, if you focus, the work that you do is to be easy because you are actually going to enjoy it. You actually see that you are growing and you will be satisfied by that. And the burden is light. Because you will be truly connected with what you want. And you will find connection with other people. And isn't it beautiful that we are now in a time and place when we put our spiritual glasses on, that we know that we can contribute to the world. Because yes, the world is going bonkers out there. But we are not. And we have been given this unique opportunity to focus on what matters. Because now we know that there is life after life. We know there's reincarnation because the spirits talk to us. They write books for us. They write songs to uplift our hearts. They have been telling us for all of history that they are there, that we are going to be okay. We know. So now let's do it. Let's find out what is it that we need to leave behind from the things that are not working. And let's refuse to accept this view from a world that is not healthy or sane. Let's not work towards something that is not working. But that starts a little bit at a day, at a time, a little bit at a time, every single day. It's about letting go of those preconceived notions that we have created in our lives. None of that's true when you think about the spirit. You already are successful. You are you. You were created by God. And that's certainty for us. And so we hope that the challenge ahead then becomes not what is it that we need to achieve, but what is it that we need to remember to know that we are already there and not be fazed by the challenges. There is no FOMO. Because what you need is happening right now with you, within your heart. There is no need for fame. You already are famous. God knows you. And that amazing number of spirits are aware of you. And you are already wealthy on the things that matter. You know that there is life after life, and life is never ending. And that you have so many resources when it comes to spiritual friends and friends here in the karma world. You've got everything you need to realize that you can be happy today. Because happiness, my friends, is not controlling things. It's not forcing things to happen. Happiness is not the absence of challenges. Happiness is being okay with whatever challenge you got because you know that you are growing. And I think that's why the yoke can be easy and the burden light when we go back to the things that we really know. So my hope is that you and I can remind each other to let go. To let go of the veil and things that do not suit us. Like small shirts that no longer fit us in plastic. So that we can grow, right, to something else. And as we do that, the wonderful thing it will be to see that the alarm will go on. And we're going to be okay. We're just going to make sure we check. There's not a fire going on, or there's a problem. But we can be okay in the middle of crisis, right? And maybe that's a wonderful time to say, thank you for being here, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of the day. And make sure to talk with each other. God bless you, and I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you so much, Dan. We are going to make sure everything's okay first, since people ran downstairs, so we will make sure everything's okay, but I am hoping we are. Yeah, okay. They're cooking every time. Lunch is getting prepared, so every time they're cooking. Okay, that's good to know, but can I send them downstairs? That's my question. Okay, so,
Things
yeah.
well done, you're probably in a good place.
I know, right? So first, really wanted to thank Dan. That was amazing. Thank you for reminding us to let go, because that is important. And we are enough.
Everything's okay. I was gonna die today.
Great, great. Okay, we're still made it. We're good. I'd like to invite everybody for a quick 15-minute break. Okay, you are going to. We're going to call you back. Just remind you in 10 minutes. But we're going to take a quick coffee break. There's coffee downstairs. So please, if you don't mind heading over here, if you need restrooms are down the hallway for the ones that don't know about it, okay? There's also restrooms downstairs. So please, let's head for a 15-minute break. Thank you. Yes, you can also walk, if you don't like stairs, there's also walkways outside the house, or you can use the stairways to this way. Thank you, everyone.
Hey, my brothers.
Lá, última sala lá.
Vou abrir aqui para.
Tenta dar um braço.
Conheço você não tem
Conhece dar um braço?
casa, né?
Já.
Vamos falar pra você. Conheço. Não,
Tudo bem? Vai, abraço. Tudo bem? E você? Muito tranquilo. Muito tranquilo. É quinta-feira. Tá violando. Eu vim pra cá, trabalho, é que eu trabalhei sexta-feira aqui. Eu vou pra casa do gente.
Aí, graças a Deus, eu fiz. A única que ela fez.
Deixa eu ver se eu
Tão feliz quando eu vi várias perguntas. Tô falando com certeza.
Não tem quanto que eu não havia.
Ana. Ó, acho que tá dando uma pressão. Já conheceu o Pinho, ó. São prazer pra ele. Ah, sei, então. Pronto, o Pinho, a Ana, o David, a Marta, eles também estavam sempre juntos, sabe? A Dani, Daniana.
Conheci, né?
Ah, eu chegou.
Do you have some coffee?
I did. Thank you. Yes.
Eu tô aproveitando a oportunidade para só se ver.
So right now. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Caesar, can you hear me? Caesar, can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? So we're good now? We're good?
It's
Yeah. So 1, 2, 3 testing. Can you hear me? How's it quality of the sound?
That's the audio for the camera, not for the mic.
Here from the camera. No?
oh my God, you guys suck.
Yes, please. Yes,
Caesar, could you
please.
do me a favor?
Yeah,
Caesar,
please do that.
could you just stop?
Yes, yes. Yes. Thank you, finally. Hey, no, actually, I'm calling for about a different account. Hey, yeah, actually, I'm calling about a different account. It's a different location, so. Hey, this is not a no, this is Victoria. So I'm calling about property 5566 Oakdale Drive Southeast. Christian Spiritism Community of Atlanta. One second. You're asking for account number. So I social change. I'll call back. Chad, what's the name? Oh, wait, it's on.
There's nothing on this picture. Tá aparecendo aí? Som, som, som. Som, 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 som. Tá saindo. Não sai nem no speaker, nem na live stream. Som, som. Ok.
So it's line E now. Is there a way for you to increase the speaker?
No, it's fine. So,
So I'm gonna tap it.
It's working.
now?
It's working. Okay. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Johnny, got everything
Very
good,
good.
okay? So now Vic is trying to start to get the internet. Got it? Got it?
Yeah.
Yes, fine. So she's gonna, Vicky will fix the internet for us, okay? She'll call Comcast.
Yeah. You'll try it if you can, but it doesn't really.
We're gonna have to switch.
Yeah, we're not okay. So,
You do?
that's probably.
So the hotspot, is that a hotspot?
Speak to representative.
Yes.
Speak to representative. Speak to representative. Please. Also, is there any way you can turn the AC so the heat, because when people come back in the afternoon, they do heat converter, is it AC now?
It's automatic.
Oh,
If it gets hot, if it gets too hot,
okay.
yeah, if it gets too hot, then it's.
Yeah, work for scissor. Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna go with sorry. Yeah, like this. You should change the temperature for the heater.
Got it. I'm hot too. I got ready. I'll treat someone. Yes. So, do we have internet? Are we live or not? We're not now on YouTube. I know that I learned from Dunny today, but let me ask you, I'm supposed to ask, stuff in your questions. So not yet. I'm working on that now. I thought we're working on real life. So they can send me questions through YouTube channel. Okay.
Facebook.
Okay, and Facebook. That was their 2-year-old birthday party yesterday, and then Zoe and my dad. I'm trying to more realistic ones. They were going to have this lady Al, and
Okay.
they had lunch. So there they are again. Yes.
Enjoy every moment because it was my house.
Oh my goodness.
Very well.
Yes, good. Mine.
Your name, that's our grandmother's.
Right now, but we can also, what we can do, John, that's it. We can have
Yeah.
you got it.
Yeah. I know. I gotta work on
Yeah, but start
Anymore, and I'm so sad. Yeah. Yes. 8220. 11.
Try the mic to see what the height would be, the position would be best for you. If it,
Hello, hello, hello. Sobe um pouquinho, não? Hello, hello, hello. Ok? Hello. No, I think I'm good. Mhm.
Okay, never mind. I'm going to go back later. Okay, can you please check this calendar, make sure we're right, please? Okay, I can't get it on Zoom.
Hello, everyone. Good morning again, everyone. Welcome back, everyone. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. I think we're good. Mike is back. Welcome back, everyone. Hopefully, you had the chance to talk with some friends, get your coffee. I would like to thank Dan again. Thank you, Dan. Thank you. Thank you to our volunteers. Thank you to our wonderful volunteers who made things happen. Our volunteers who made coffee for us as well. Just wanted to thank everybody that helped us. And I'm sure the good spirits are there as well. Yep. Just waiting for our friends coming up the stairs so we can get going. We are so glad to be live on Facebook as well as YouTube. Yes, and for the ones live, we would like to remind you to please submit your questions. All 4 speakers today, Dan, Susanna, Flavio, and Edward, will be in a Q&A roundtable at the end of the day. So if you are here live with us, please go ahead and write questions. We're going to have some paper being passed down by our volunteers. So write down your questions. They will tackle them later on. And for the ones online, thank you for joining us online if you're watching either live or later on. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to, be with yourself. Great. So moving on in our schedule, our next wonderful speaker will be Susanna Simões. And Susanna will talk to us about the topic, Tackling Selfishness by the Root, a road back to safety and peace. Susanna Simões was born in Brazil and has been living in the United States for the past 29 years. She was born in a Spiritist family. She dedicates her time between her family and her work as a doctor of physical therapy and director of rehabilitation, as well as a dissemination of Spiritism in both English and Portuguese. She's one of the founders of Conscious Living Spiritist Group in Miami. Thank you for being with us today, Susanna. Please welcome her.
So, good morning, everyone. So nice to be here. It's been a long time since I was here last, so I'm very happy to return to this group and partake in this conference. Thank you for the invitation. So we are going to talk about tackling selfishness by the root, and Dan did a wonderful job kind of setting up the tone for us. We're gonna dive into the topic of selfishness together, and I'm gonna open by bringing this statement that is found in the book Posthumous Work by Allan Kardec. And by the way, all the references that we have today are from Kardec. And they are found in Posthumous Work, as well as the Gospel According to Spiritism and the Spirit's book. It is a fascinating study, and not because I did it, but because Kardec does an absolutely wonderful job, and you will be amazed by the actuality of the teachings and how they apply to our situation today. So let's take this initial statement, because it goes right into our main topic here today. Selfishness is the denial of charity. Without charity, there is no rest for society. I say more, there is no safety. Life will always be a competition where the wisest will win, a fight of interest capable of destroying the most precious affections and family ties, as long as selfishness and pride are holding hands. Funny that Dan just ended his talk talking about Jesus and how he offered us what? Rest. So we are all experiencing today, in different degrees, anxiety. We are frightened. We are uncertain. And what Kardec and the good spirits are telling us since the 1800s, if we had just the time to read and reflect a little deeper into this, is that we will have no rest and we will not feel safe if we live in a society where selfishness prevails. And we can go further into this and understand that what we experience today, what we are receiving today, is a legacy of selfishness. So when we think of inheritance, right, it's something that is left after we pass. The legacy is something that we are living while we are here together. So selfishness permeates our daily living. And more than that, it permeates our condition, in our evolution, in the state where we are right now. It is pretty much characterized by this, let's call it a sentiment. And so we are living a legacy of selfishness, and we have to understand how is it that we can tackle selfishness and move to a different space and place. At the very bottom of it, if you would run a root cause analysis on, and keep asking the many whys until we get to the very source of it, we come to this place. I mean, we are selfish and we are living the way we are because we are disconnected. We are disconnected from the source. We are disconnected from God. We are disconnected from what is essential in our lives. And because we are disconnected, we live a paradigm of scarcity, of lack. And therefore, we have to go out there and we have to compete and we have to fight to get what is ours. And this is what we experience today in our society that gives us no rest. You cannot rest when you feel that you lack. You have to be out there fighting others, running over others if necessary to get what is yours. But if we look at the origin of selfishness, and we go back to the Spirit's book, I like this picture because I do think that we are kind of a lion, right? But it goes back to the instincts of conservation, and like all instincts and passions, they are divine. They serve a purpose. The issue is that when they become exacerbated, then they become harmful. So we need the instinct of conservation to survive, both physically and emotionally. I mean, the same way that to remain alive physically, we also have a need, because of our level of disconnection, to remain alive emotionally, psychically, to be seen, to survive, to be acknowledged, to belong, and all those things. But it gets to a point that it becomes, again, exacerbated and harmful to ourselves and to others. So when you go to questions 915 and 917, I really invite you to, as you have your groups, your groups, study groups of the Spirit's book, that we start revisiting how we study the Spirit's book. Because most of the times we'll read the question, we'll read the answer, we will repeat those concepts with our own words without really taking the time to explore what is truly being said. So I invite you to really do a much more, slow down on your studies and take the time to see how those concepts apply to your lives. And that's what I would like to do with you guys now. So question 915, and if you probably did already this study, you probably know some of these answers, but it says that it is connected to the inferior nature of the spirits incarnated on the earth and not to the human species per se. That's the absolutely best news for today, right? Because what is it that this is telling us? It will pass, right? It's not real, meaning it's not perennial. It's just attached to where we are. So if you don't take anything else from here today, just take this. The world will get better, right? There's hope for humanity. There's hope for you, right? Because you are part of humanity. If I say hope for humanity, we think of someone out there, but that's you too. There's hope for you because this is truly connected to our stage of evolution, and we are evolving because that is also the law. And then on 917, selfishness is connected to the influence of matter, from which human beings is still too close to their origin, cannot free themselves. Dan spoke about it. He proposed an exercise of detachment. And as he proposed the exercise, I was thinking to myself, how can we detach if we don't know where we attach? And that is the issue. We can talk about doing all those things, but without awareness. And I challenge you, I really challenge you to go deep inside and to do an assessment of how much matter influences your life. And I assure you that it does way, way more than you actually realize, because we run our lives based on what our materialistic culture establishes for ourselves. We Dan spoke, we seek beauty of the body. We seek wealth, material wealth. And we conform and we go along with many, many materialistic concepts and paradigms that do only that, create disconnection, anxiety, and all kinds of mental health issues that we see nowadays in our society. But so understanding how matter influences us is a key exercise. Now, in addition to that, questions, I love those two questions. They talk about one of the very closest cousins of selfishness, which is self-interest. So in question 895, now check this out. Self-interest, the most characteristic sign of imperfection, the most, not one, the most. True disinterestedness is rare on earth. So everything that we do, everything pretty much has self-interest behind it. Even the way we love, the way we relate, the way we do charity, from the beginning to the end, ultimately is about you. I'm so sorry to break this news. I'm so sorry to tell you that, but I'm just voicing what the spirits here told us. So I'm not the main messenger. I'm just going to try to help you to understand how that happens. So in question 893, which is the most meritorious of all virtues? Because Kardec goes back and forth, right? So the highest virtue, the highest, is the sacrifice of self-interest. So again, if you don't have a clue on how self-interest drives everything that you do, we are facing a big problem, because not only is the most characteristic sign of imperfection, but also the highest virtue is the sacrifice of self-interest. So think for a second. It takes time to think about those that actually needs to use. If you didn't, go to the first question and do all over this mindset. All right, so this condition, our condition of attachment to matter and being so close to the beginning and selfishness prevail in our lives, creates a way of living where we are constantly defending ourselves. So the shock that was experienced from the selfishness of others usually selfish because they feel the need to put themselves on the defensive. Horrible things at school, and then how a group of friends is putting together a revenge to make her feel like really bad, right? And she rushed to tell me that she has nothing to do with that, but she's just telling me a story, which I am in a position where I want to connect with her, right? I don't want to dismiss her story, but I also need to tell her that, you know, what we are invited to do by doing that, that group is lowering themselves to the level of the person. And we need to break the cycle by rising above, by actually offering something different. So how we probably, all of us have said at some point, you know, if that's how you're going to be with me, that's how I'm going to be with you. Right? Right? Sounds familiar? Right? So what are we doing? If not being like my 14-year-old daughter, yeah, revengeful and not rising above and nurturing the cycle of defensiveness, separation, otherization, distancing ourselves from one another and living in this defense mode. I think it stopped working. So next. Here we are. Okay. So, in question 913, among all devices, which may we regard as deep within? And the answer is one or two. Everything, Spirit's book course, you should have gone home and say, my goodness, I really need to read everything that there is about selfishness and really understand, cognitively, and how does that apply to me? All other qualities. Why? Because here you are trying to be charitable, trying to be good, trying to be loving. And at the end of the day, it's all about yourself. So how truly virtuous is that, right? So this is really not to create an anxiety and for people to start to doing what they need to do. This is how we can do it right now. So the point here is just to make us aware that this is the reality, this is how we are operating, so that we can continue. It's a step. Before we weren't even operating. Now we are operating. Self-interest still prevails. It's a phase. We need to be aware of that so we can start working towards the next phase, which is selflessness, which is for the very advanced spirits. Next. I'm not sure where to point this. Next slide, please. There you go. All right, so let's tackle selfishness. How do we do that? So the moment, here's the moment. The moment's the present moment, is today. And what is it that we see today? In question 916, the spirits will tell us that the greater the evil, the more heinous it becomes. It has been necessary for selfishness to produce much evil to make you understand the need to uproot it. So a lot of times when people come to me and say, what do you make out of the atrocities and the weird things that we are seeing in the world? I say, well, question 916 of the Spirit's book will tell you. And we're not doing enough, individually and collectively. We need to be shaken in our foundations because we are so incredibly self-centered. We are so incredibly enclosed in our own shells. We are so blind to others. We are so still far from understanding that we will not be happy if we're not collectively and individually committed to the happiness of others. If we don't make an effort to see every single person, I don't care who you are, where were you born, what religion you embrace, who you love, there is no others. We are all one under God, one humanity under God. Until we not only know that, but we truly feel that in our hearts, we're going to have this type of conflicts and things will get ugly. It's necessary that they get ugly because unfortunately, as I said, it takes that much pain to get us to move from our comfortable places. Now, it would be nice if we could just come here and say, let's proclaim at this moment the kingdom of heaven, or let's proclaim that the world is going to be a nice and fraternal place. But changes don't come with just a proclamation of independence from evil, right? We're going to need a little bit more of that. So this is what, this is from the gospel. Of course, it is wonderful to proclaim the kingdom of fraternity, but how can this be done if there is a destructive cause? That would be building an unwholesome soil. In such a kingdom, if one desires people to fare well, it's not enough to send them doctors, because doctors will die like everyone else. One must destroy the causes of unhealthiness. If one desires that they live like brothers and sisters, it's not enough to give them lessons on morality. It's necessary to destroy the causes of antagonism, to attack the root of the evil, pride and selfishness. So amazing. This is amazing, because what Kardec is telling us, even before psychology even existed, is that it's not enough to come to the Spiritist Center or to send your kids to the children in the youth education. Those are necessary steps, but we are not going to change things just by trying to cognitively educate people. We need to do more. We need to go inside. We need to seek the root. We need to seek the cause. And nowadays, with the contribution of Joanna de Angelis and psychology, we also understand that pride and selfishness are symptoms. There is actually more underneath. Those are just actually superficial symptoms, behaviors that speak about the human frailty and about the level of our disconnection from God, from the source, from the essence of life. It's not enough to send the doctor. It's not enough to send the teacher. We need to teach our kids the way in. The best way to do that is, how do I help my kids? You work on yourself. You be the model, right? So if you want to teach them how to speak differently, you need to speak differently to them in first place. If you want to teach them how to manage their frustration, you need to tackle your own frustration and how you deal with your frustration. When they scream in feeling powerlessness, how do you handle your powerlessness? Do you yell? Do you break something? Do you send them to the room and tell them to shut up? We do that as an adults when we are deeply frustrated, because we cannot manage our frustration, because behind frustration is usually powerlessness. We want to change and we can't, so we scream. So what are the weapons that the gospel offer us? Selfishness is the target at which all true believers must aim their weapons. What are the weapons? It's strength and courage. Now I say courage because more courage is needed to overcome oneself than to overcome other people. Let all of you therefore make every effort to fight selfishness within you. For that monster that devours all minds, that child of pride, is the source of all miseries in this world and the greatest obstacle to human. It couldn't be more clear. The spirits are not telling us, okay, you're taking one course at the Spiritist Center, you need to take 3. That's not what they are saying. They're not telling you that you pray once a day, you need to pray 3 times a day. That's not what they're saying. They're telling us that it takes courage to go within, right? And that the work is within, okay? Now, you can only change what you are aware that exists. So one of the greatest obstacles that we have faced in our spiritist evolution is the fact that we have done spiritism for the mind. Nowadays, we are entering a phase where we are trying to take spiritism to the next level, and it's to take it to the heart and to the soul. We need to bridge what we know to how we feel, how we manage our emotions. And that is, when you read the gospel in the Spirit's book again, you will find right there so many recommendations in that direction that at a first quick reading you might miss. So look at this statement that is actually in the gospel. Look how psychological this is. If people were to mutually love one another, charity would be practiced more perfectly. However, for this to happen, you would have to make an effort to free yourselves of that breastplate covering your hearts so that you may be more sensitive to those who suffer. Breastplate is protection to the heart. So we have been in this society where the paradigm, the philosophy is still very much aligned with Moses' time, an eye for an eye. So we are constantly defending ourselves, and we defend ourselves from others, and we defend ourselves from others within. So we have this breastplate. I was talking during the break, and in the conversation, it came up the fact of how difficult it is to go within. It is difficult because to go within, it takes courage, it's core work, it's hard work, it takes humility, humbleness, to be able to see and to embrace the human in us without feeling less. That's the challenge, because you can say, I am still where I am. I have much to do. I have much to learn. I have all these limitations. I experience all this darkness, and yet I am a child of God, as Dan was telling us. So how selfish am I? So quick exercise following Dan's lead. Use your selfishometer. I just created this word. And in a scale 0 to 10, 0, you are selfless, and 10, you are the most selfish person in the universe. Give yourself a number. Okay? All right? Very good. Now, okay, so let's say you gave yourself a 7. So how are you going to tackle selfishness within you, right? So that by the end of this lifetime, you went from 7 to 6.8. That is good progress, my dear friends, for incarnation. Believe me. All right. So it starts with recognition and awareness. So that's what we are going to do right now, a small exercise of recognition so you can leave here more disturbed than you came in. No. Okay. So one of the greatest things that we are so proud of is all the charity work that we do, helping others. We love to, it's such a big part of Spiritism and Spiritist movement, and it's a wonderful thing. And it's very, without charity, there is no salvation, right? So without love, there is no salvation. So let's start with our relationships, partner relationship, right? So what do you do with your partner? I try to do with mine, right? So be nice, okay? Be kind sometimes, be gentle, do something, say, I love you from time to time, bring some flowers or pick up the clothes or whatever, we are doing things, right? Why do we do those things? Because we love that person. Yes, sure, that is very true. But also, what is that you want from that person? For her to love you back, right? So is it selfless love? No. You want that person to continue to want you, if you're in a healthy marriage, hopefully. You want that person to continue to want you. You want that person to not leave you for somebody else, right? So there are certain things that we need to do to keep that up, okay? But these things are not exclusive, right? I'm not excluding one or another. So yes, you love that person, but also underneath, and mixed with that, you love yourself. And you actually want the benefit of having that person being there and available to you. So it's not quite selfless quite yet. Same thing with our friends. Sometimes we go out of our ways to do something for our friends, and it's genuine. Yes, it's genuine. It's not saying that it's not there. But what happens if your friend, when you need your friend, the friend is not there for you, right? So at the very end or at the very beginning, I'm not sure, in the middle, all over, it's you, right? You also you have expectations that that friend will be there for you. You are expecting something back. Same thing with charity. That's an interesting thing. You do charity. Oh, no, I'm doing for others. Really? And then you're doing charity, and then in the middle of charity, you just fall in love with who you are at that moment. Look how good I am. You don't say that. You're thinking that, I really love this version of myself. You see? So you who are struggling with your self-esteem, right? Who have doubts about yourself, that moment that you were doing the charity, you feel so good because you are so good, right? So who is really benefiting from that in first place and in last place and in the middle? Yourself. And then you don't tell anyone that you did charity, right? You help someone and you didn't tell anyone. And then you spend days thinking, oh my God, I did it. I'm so proud of myself. I didn't tell anyone that I did it. So now, again, it's about you feeling so good about yourself. So the bottom line is, as the Spiritist said, not me, true disinterestedness is very rare on earth. It really doesn't exist. And it's okay. It's fine. We need to keep doing what we need to keep doing. We just need to keep doing with greater awareness of what we are doing, why we are doing, and what is truly driving us. an important component for transformation is honesty. We have to be and emotionally honest with ourselves. So you can say, when you were on second grade and you were writing an essay and your handwriting is all like funky and not the prettiest, and you don't feel horrible because your handwriting is funky. It is what it is. It's what you have for today. So you just say, well, that's the handwriting of a second grader. It's fine. It will get better one day. Well, that's the charity. That's how we love right now. It will get better. So no need for us to feel awful about it, but it's important for us to understand that this is where we are. And if you have any doubts, no, it can't be. I know that when I do this, I am being selfless, right? So if you experience any one of these feelings, then bing, just like the fire alarm went off, it's gonna beep so loud inside you. Okay, self-interest, self-interest, self-interest. You did what you did, but you are very much in the center of what you did. And that's why we feel that people are ungrateful, because it was all about you from the very beginning. Resentment, frustration, anger, and disappointment. We do things because we want things back. Okay? Now, a couple more examples. Share selfishness. Let me see my time. Share selfishness. Share selfishness is when couples, instead of choosing to do the work of negotiation, you opt for share selfishness. So let me give you an example. Very gender-driven, but it will fit for the moment. So you have the guy who takes care of the finances, and you have the woman who takes care of the house and the kitchen and blah, blah, blah. So the guy has something to say about the kitchen. He would like maybe for something to be at a different place, and the woman wants to give some ideas on how to run the finances. And the couple decides, that to avoid any conflict and any fight, the kitchen is your realm. You make all the decisions over there. The finances are my realm. I make all the decisions of in this realm. That's called share selfishness, meaning we just kept things the way they were. There was no moving towards. There was no curiosity. There was no trying to understand. The couple comes to this place of agreeable submission. So this is selfishness in our relating, right? So I experienced something like that in my house. I have a very different way of organizing my refrigerator than my wife does. Very different, very different. But we did not stay on agreeable submission. It is truly her realm because she's the one who cooks. So in recognizing that, I want to put the dog food on the lower shelf all the way back. She wants it on the middle shelf. And for, months, every time I would open the refrigerator, the dog food would be up. She opens the refrigerator, the dog food is down. So at some point I said, okay, let me understand why is she doing that. And she said, I am the one that cooks, and I need the practicality of taking things out. I was like, okay, I still don't understand, but we'll go with that because it seems to make sense for her, and she's the one cooking, so God bless her. And we came to an agreement, right? So I had to move out of my comfortable zone. Parental love is a great example of non-selfless type of love because our ego is greatly gratified by the success of our children. And the Brené Brown, on her work on shame, which highly, highly recommend, she says that parenting is one of the great sources of shame in our society. We feel incredibly inadequate, especially when our kids don't succeed. They are not the Facebook kids who win every single tournament, who do amazing things at school, who are getting all the awards, right? I don't know if these kids exist in the real world. I mean, my kids are certainly not like that. And I do like the fact that they are not that. And I try at home to tell them that I'm also not like that. And that it's okay. There's a place in this world to be human. And that, you know, that is just a display that is of what's not real, right? But parental love, what happens when our kids fail us or when they go in a different direction, right? So it's a place, I mean, we want to really educate our kids, and here's an educator, based on what we believe is best for them without actually getting to understand who they are and what would probably be best for them perhaps is different than what's best for us. And so that's a great exercise of like leaving the center and trying to put someone else in the center. So when we think about the solution is a journey, right? So no one is going to leave here, unfortunately. I know you pay a lot to be here today, but I do not have a solution for you, an easy one, a short one. It will not be in this lifetime, guarantee. That's the only thing I can guarantee. But it is a journey, because right now, here's where we are, right? Disconnection, blindness. I mean, we don't even know all the ways that matter influence us, all the ways that we are being selfish, but we know for sure that we are in this place of scarcity. We love to be loved. We love to be reassured. We give to receive, and we recognize to be recognized. Okay, I know this is painful. Sorry, but it is what it is, right? That's the starting point. So part of the solution is like to change the normal. So we have come to a place where we find all these things to be normal. We need to be shaken and understand that the way that we relate, the way that we do things is not the normal. When something absolutely abnormal happens, a war or some major thing, it's clear to us that that's not okay and we need to change. Well, because so many of our behaviors are normalized for us, we don't feel necessarily the need to change and to tackle them. But these things are not, where we are is not the end road. There's a lot of work to do. We cannot think that the way that we are relating, for example, nowadays is the end road, because we are not doing a very good job when it comes to relating, for example. So charity and fraternity sum up all conditions and social duties. However, they presuppose selflessness. So selflessness is the end road, right? So you can only achieve this place of selflessness if you reconnect, and in reconnecting with God, with the source, you find your center. And this is all nurtured by self-love, and all of this together takes us to this place of abundance. So we will find rest, we will find peace, we will live in a better world when each one of us takes care of undertaking this journey in a conscious way. So what is it that I need to do, like the spirits have oriented us to do? Remove the armor, open your heart to love. Take courage and strength to go within. Stop analyzing people's behavior. You can't do anything about anyone else but yourself. It's about you. It does not matter what people are doing or they are reacting. What you should be asking each day is, how am I reacting? Why am I angry? Why am I frustrated? Why am I in this conflict? What is my contribution? What is my participation? Where am I aching? Where is this violence and hostility that I witness in myself coming from? In order to do that, you need to be open to sit with your own humanity, not to label, not to judge. Because the moment you label, the moment you judge, you put that aside. You need to be able to sit with it, to bear the human in you. And this is the path to connection, because as you connect with your humanity, you are connecting with God. You are connecting with the divine within you. And that, my dear friends, will take us to this place of abundance, the place that the widow's mite. And I love this. I'm going to close with this for you, right? The widow's mite is that lady that comes into the temple and people giving their offers, right? She was poor. She had nothing. And she gave the mite. She gave from what she didn't have. So this is often talked about in the spiritual center as someone who gave of what she did not have. I ask forgiveness to actually present a different version. She had so much to give. The reason why she gave the mite is because she represents someone in a state of abundance. She was so connected to God. She was so centered in herself. She had so much that she had no fear. She had no attachment. She could see way beyond her belly button. So the widow's mite in the gospel is the utmost representation of someone who lived in abundance, perhaps no material abundance, but she had the abundance of the Spirit. And so you can think of Jesus, you can think of the widow's mite. Maybe we can start building moments, small moments, where we connect. It's just like, forgive me, I'm going to take an extra minute here. Animals, they don't think continuously. We think continuously. It will come to a moment that we will love continuously. That's a place of selflessness. That's a place of abundance. Right now, our love is, right, just like the Wi-Fi, up and down. We are unable to stay connected. But the point is that we are going to get there, to this place of connection where the world, both outside of us and within of us, will be a place of peace. Peace within. Peace that's going to come from reconciling with the human in ourselves and to consciously undergoing this journey towards love and connection. So take one day at a time. I would say before we wanted to do any incredible transformation, because the spiritists are very crazy, they think that they are going to be pure by the end of this incarnation, and they set an incredible set of unrealistic expectations on themselves, and that's why there is so much actually anxiety, depression, and all kinds of things within the Spiritist movement, because we're not understanding the Spiritism. You know, when you look at the Spiritist scale, you're going to see that all the way the regeneration worlds and the happy worlds, evil is still present. It's just not prevalent. So how we think of eliminating evil, right, darkness, in our stage of evolution is not possible. But we operate as if it is, and we set that expectation on ourselves, right? So if nothing else, leave here today with a commitment to do what Jesus said, which is watch and pray. Watch yourself. Let's just get better at watching our own selves, of building consciousness, because it may not seem like it, but awareness is the most powerful thing and perhaps the most powerful step for transformation. So thank you very much.
Excellent. Susanna, thank you so very much for such a great lecture. It's so important for us to look into ourselves. Susanna, right now I'm feeling great because I'm the bearer of good news. Lunch is served, right? So we have now until 1:30 to have lunch. The same place where we have the coffee break downstairs. So please head downstairs, enjoy lunch. As always, have a good time talking to old friends, new friends, old friends, right? And please make sure you'll be back here at 1:30 as we continue our series of lectures. Thank you.